I never planned to reveal my true identity at work. Being the silent owner of TechVision, a rapidly growing tech company valued at $2.8 billion, wasn't something I advertised. I preferred letting my work speak for itself. Starting each day at 7 a.m. sharp, sitting at a modest desk in the open office space alongside my employees. My husband Mark's family never understood my choice to work at some startup, as they put it. Coming from old money, they believed in flaunting wealth, not earning it. My mother-in-law, Victoria Preston, particularly enjoyed reminding me of my unfortunate background at every family gathering. "Another late night at your little job?" she'd ask, perfectly manicured nails wrapped around her crystal wine glass. "I don't understand why Mark lets you work. Preston women don't need to unless they have to." The implication was always clear. I wasn't really a Preston. I met Mark 5 years ago at a coffee shop. Back then, I was already wealthy from selling my first company, but I kept that private. He fell in love with me, Sarah Chin, the hard-working entrepreneur, not my bank account. When we married 3 years ago, I didn't sign a prenup, something Victoria never failed to mention with a smirk. At least she knew her place there. She'd whisper to her friends at social events, loud enough for me to hear. I let it all slide. My new company, TechVision, was growing exponentially, and I enjoyed being just another employee, watching my team innovate without the pressure of knowing their boss was among them. Only the board and my CFO knew my true identity. Everything changed last month at the annual Preston family gathering. The evening started typically enough. Victoria's mansion was filled with wealthy families, all part of their elite social circle. I stood alone by the window, watching Mark network with potential clients for his law firm. My mother-in-law approached, flanked by her two best friends, Margaret and Elizabeth. "Sarah, darling," Victoria's voice dripped with false sweetness. "We were just discussing TechVision. Isn't that where you work?" She said work like it was a dirty word. "Yes, I do," I replied simply. "Margaret's son just invested heavily in it. Apparently, it's quite successful." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Though I can't imagine you would know much about that from your position." Margaret jumped in, her voice sharp. "What exactly do you do there, Sarah?" "Answer phones. File papers?" "I contribute where needed," I answered, maintaining my composure. "How charitable of them," Elizabeth laughed, "giving opportunities to people like you. Though I suppose someone needs to make the coffee." I noticed Mark approaching, his expression concerned. He'd always defended me against his mother's jabs, which only made her more resentful. "Mother, please," he started, but Victoria cut him off. "Mark, darling, we're just having a little chat about Sarah's career choices. I was telling the ladies how she insists on working despite your success. It's rather quaint." That's when my phone buzzed. A message from my CFO. Emergency board meeting needed. Major acquisition offer from Preston Global Industries. I almost laughed out loud. Preston Global Industries, Victoria's family company, now run by her brother. They've been trying to buy into the tech sector for years. And now they wanted to acquire TechVision, not knowing the owner was standing right in their midst. "Speaking of work," I said calmly, "I should go. There's an important meeting." Victoria's laugh was sharp. "On a Saturday evening?" "Oh, Sarah, you don't need to make excuses to leave early. We understand if these gatherings are overwhelming for someone of your background." I stood up straighter, something shifting inside me. 5 years of condescension. 5 years of snide remarks. Enough. "Actually, Victoria, you're right. There's something overwhelming about tonight." I pulled out my phone, displaying the email about Preston Global's acquisition offer. "Like this offer from your brother's company to buy TechVision." The room fell silent. Victoria's eyes darted to the phone, then back to my face. "Why would they show that to someone like you?" Margaret asked, confusion evident in her voice. "Because," I said quietly, "they need my approval. You see, I'm not just an employee at TechVision." I paused, savoring the moment. "I'm the owner, the founder, the CEO." The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria's wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Mark stared at me, mouth open in shock. That's impossible," Victoria stammered. "TechVision is worth $2.8 billion as of last valuation." I finished for her. "Would you like to see my business card? I keep it tucked away for special occasions." I pulled out the sleek black card with my full title embossed in silver. Sarah Chen, founder and CEO, TechVision Industries. The next few minutes were chaos. Victoria's face cycled through various shades of red. Margaret and Elizabeth backed away, suddenly very interested in their phones. Mark just kept staring at me, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Why did you tell me?" he asked softly. "I wanted to be loved for who I am, not what I own," I replied. "Though I have to admit, watching your mother's expression just now was quite satisfying." Victoria finally found her voice. "All this time, you let us think that I was beneath you." I finished. "Yes, I did. And you proved me right about keeping my success quiet. Money doesn't equal class, Victoria. Something you've demonstrated perfectly over the years." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and about that acquisition offer. I think I'll have to decline. TechVision isn't for sale, at any price." As I walked out of the mansion, my phone buzzed again. Another message from my CFO. "New building signage installation complete. Ready for Monday's unveiling." I smiled, knowing that on Monday morning the Preston family would drive past our headquarters and see my name, Sarah Chen, gleaming on the building they'd mocked me for working in. Sometimes revenge is best served not just cold, but with impeccable timing. But this was just the beginning. Victoria's reaction to my identity was nothing compared to what would happen next. The Monday morning after the Preston family gathering dawned bright and clear. I arrived at the office early, watching from my window as workers put the finishing touches on our new building signage. TechVision Industries, founded by Sarah Chen, now stretched across the glass facade in elegant silver letters. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing all weekend. Victoria had called 17 times, left 23 messages, and even tried reaching me through Mark. My husband, to his credit, had been wonderfully supportive. "I always knew you were exceptional," he'd said Saturday night after we got home. "Though I admit, I didn't expect this exceptional." He'd laughed, pulling me close. "No wonder you never seemed impressed by Mother's country club stories." But the real drama was just beginning. At exactly 9:15 a.m., Victoria's sleek Mercedes pulled up outside our building. I watched through my office window as she stepped out, designer handbag clutched tight, her face turning pale as she saw my name on the building. Behind her, her brother Richard, CEO of Preston Global Industries, looked equally shocked. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Mrs. Preston and Mr. Preston are here to see you. They don't have an appointment." "Send them up," I replied, straightening my designer suit, one I always owned but never worn to family functions. They burst into my corner office, Victoria's eyes widening as she took in the spectacular view of the city skyline. "Sarah," Richard recovered first, switching to his business smile. "We need to talk about that acquisition offer. The one I rejected." I raised an eyebrow. I thought I was clear. "Now, Sarah," Victoria cut in, her voice honey-sweet. "Let's not be hasty. We're family after all." "Family?" I couldn't help but laugh. Yesterday I was the coffee girl. Today we're family. The past is the past. Victoria waved her hand dismissively. "But think about it. Joining Preston Global would be incredible for everyone. The Preston name is worth far less than the Chen name in the tech world," I interrupted. "Would you like to see our latest valuation? Or the list of patents we own?" Richard's face tightened. "Listen, you little." "Choose your next words carefully," I warned, pressing a button on my desk. The glass walls of my office instantly turned opaque. "Because what you don't know is that Preston Global is bleeding money. Your attempted hostile takeovers of 3 smaller tech firms have failed. Your stock is dropping. And now you're desperate for a win." Their faces confirmed every word. "How did you?" Richard stammered. "I do my research, just like I research how you treated your last 3 partners. How you stripped their companies bare and left their employees jobless." I stood up. "That's not happening to my people." Victoria's fake smile vanished. "You ungrateful little gold digger. You trapped my son." "Actually, Mother," Mark's voice came from the doorway. He stepped in, looking impeccable in his suit. "Sarah tried to make me sign a prenup. I refused." Victoria's jaw dropped. "What?" "It's true," I confirmed. "I wanted to protect my assets. Mark said he didn't care about money. That's why I fell in love with him. He's nothing like you." "And now," Mark continued, moving to stand beside me, "I'm here to formally inform you that I'm leaving Preston Legal to join TechVision as their new chief legal officer." Victoria actually staggered, grabbing a chair for support. You can't. I can and I am, Mark replied. Sarah's company has revolutionized 3 different industries. Meanwhile, you and Uncle Richard have been running Preston Global into the ground with your outdated thinking and hostile takeovers. Richard's face had turned an alarming shade of purple. This is outrageous. Well, you'll what? I cut in. Go public with how you tried to bully and demean the CEO of one of the fastest growing tech companies in the country. About how you treated your own daughter-in-law like a servant while trying to acquire her company. I smiled. Please do, the press would love it. And Mark added, pulling out some papers. These are my resignation letters from both Preston Legal and the Preston Global Board. Effective immediately, Victoria finally found her voice again. I'll disown you. Both of you. Actually, I pressed another button, and my wall screen lit up with financial charts. You might want to reconsider that. You see, while Preston Global was focusing on hostile takeovers, TechVision was quietly buying up their struggling subsidiaries through shell companies. As of this morning, we own controlling interest in 51% of Preston Global's profitable divisions. The room went deadly quiet. That's impossible, Richard whispered. Check your stock notifications, I suggested. Both their phones buzzed simultaneously. Richard's knees actually buckled as he read the message. So here's what's going to happen. I continued calmly. You're going to leave my office. You're going to stop all attempts to acquire TechVision. And you're going to start treating your employees, all of them, with respect. Because if you don't, the next board meeting at Preston Global will be very uncomfortable for you. You destroy your husband's family company? Victoria gasped. No, I corrected her. I'd save it from the people destroying it. The choice is yours. They left in a daze, Victoria's designer heels wobbling on her polished floors. As the elevator doors closed behind them, Mark turned to me with a grin. That was the most attractive thing I've ever seen you do. I laughed, tension finally leaving my shoulders. Even more attractive than my make coffee. Speaking of coffee, my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Mrs. Preston left her designer handbag in the lobby. Should I have it sent up? No need, I replied. Send it to her new office in the subsidiary building across town. I hear she's always wanted to learn how business really works. 6 months later, Preston Global had its most profitable quarter in a decade. Victoria, now working as a junior project manager in one of their subsidiaries, had developed a surprising talent for actual work. Richard had stepped down as CEO, replaced by a progressive young executive who understood the modern business world. As for me, I still sit at my desk in the open office 3 days a week, working alongside my team. The only difference is now they know who I am, and they love telling the story of how their CEO outmaneuvered one of the biggest corporate raiders in the business. Mark and I moved into a modest house near the office, much to Victoria's ongoing horror. We donate most of our excess wealth to education programs for underprivileged entrepreneurs. After all, success isn't about having money, it's about what you do with it. Last week, Victoria came to dinner at our house. She actually used the word sorry, probably for the first time in her life. It's a start. As I sit in my office, looking at the city skyline, I can't help but smile. My name might be on the building now, but it's not about the recognition. It's about building something meaningful, treating people with respect, and maybe, just maybe, teaching a few Preston family members some valuable lessons along the way. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about making things better. Although I have to admit, the look on Victoria's face when she saw my name on the building, that was pretty satisfying too.